Hello. So there is a specific word that I wanted to discuss, and there's, I think, 5 different ways to do this concept. And that word is reconcile. So that's the English word, and it's used. It means different things, but you would use that same word and that same spelling. So let's go over them. So the first one that people think about, a reconciliation, is if a couple, sweetheart, you get mad and you break up, and then they reconcile, right? So here's a fun way to do that. So we're going to have both hands do the same thing, because good ASL is both hands doing the same thing, or your non-dominant hand does nothing. So we're going to start out with our B hand shape on both hands, and we're going to spell the word back, going towards the hands, right? Going in. So B-A-C-K, because they broke up. Remember, they're together. They broke up, right? So now I've got this hand here and this hand here. Now they are back together. So that's the first way, and that's really kind of fun. You could do it another way with a couple, but this is what I would do more for like a family or friends. So they had an argument, and then they resolved it. Take your hand, and you're just going to resolve it. Like you've had something in your hand, and you just poof. So you have an argument, and then you resolve. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad. Now, if it was your boss or maybe some coworkers, you might want to say, oh, we argued, then discuss and resolve. I would do that one more in a workplace, or maybe even someone who you don't know very well. It's not family, right? Or not a real close friend. You could say, had a fight, we discuss, and then we resolve it. But most with family or really close friends, you would go, right? We fought, and then we reconciled, we resolved it. So that's 3 different ways. So that's 3 different ways. Now, in a business sense or an accounting sense, you have the 2 columns, right? And you have the things that you take out or you pay for or you buy. And then the other column is what is added to it. That's where you get your money. So we're not going to be worried about that too much, but I'm going to do 2 columns. You can either do it with an open C, or you can do it a full C, right? It doesn't really matter because you're doing columns. It looks the same, right? It depends on what's easier for you. So you could say, oh, the columns, the pluses and the minus. Now you could do it 2 different ways. Here we go. We could do agree or match. So think the same, agree or match. We've done this sign a lot. You could also just use they match. What they have and what I have, they match. Okay, that's more in a business sense, money sense. So you can say they agree. Oh, I'm the accountant, and when I look at my 2 columns, it agrees. What he has, what I have, match. You see what I'm saying? So that's another way. So you have 2 different ways to show that one. Now, in a religious sense, it's a little bit different, because you have God or your deity, which all deity, in my opinion, is up and to my right. If I was left-handed, it would be up and to my left. So, and you don't really haggle with God. You have commandments, and then you obey them. But how they use the word reconciliation is I'm in reconciliation with God, right? So it's not like we fight and we resolve it. I guess you could argue with him, and he's just waiting patiently, right? But that's not how it goes. It's really, and you don't agree with, you could say, oh, we agree. But that kind of shows that you've had some haggling, or like, hey, I think this, and they're going, yeah, you're right, or they like you give in to each other, right? So I like better in a religious sense to agree. And since I put him up here, I put God up here, then we're going to agree, right? We agree. This is to kind of assimilate, so I really wouldn't do that one. This is agree. So what God wants for me and what I want match. That's reconciliation with God. So we have different ways. Let's go back over them. So the first is maybe a couple and they break up, and then you want to put them back together again, and you're just spelling back, B-A-C-K. You really want them to touch because that's more fun, right? They're back together again. Not like they're back and they're still kind of, oh, there's still a rift. So you want to go back. And then the second one, if you can do reconciliation with family or friends, you can say argument, resolve. With your boss or coworker, you might want to say argue, or we disagreed, we discussed it, and then we resolved it. So that's several ways to do that, right? And then you have a money sense or a business, an accounting of some, but this is money in accounting, right? You have an accounting with that. And so I would use either agree or match. So you could, like if it's like, oh, they have that number and I have this number. Oh, they match. Or my books agree, right? You could do that. So in that same vein of accounting, reconciliation in a business sense, you have an accounting with God or a reconciliation with God. So you have an account, I don't want to get too in depth with that whole concept. I'm just looking at that one word, right? Instead of a whole really long drawn out thing. So I would use match because it's what he wants and what I want match. What I want now match what he wants for me. Like, oh, commandments, obey, before not, now I've reconciled with God, right? I match whatever he wants for me and us. I want that too. So we match. You could use agree. I just don't prefer it just because it looks like, like I've said, oh, well, I want to do this and I don't want to do that. Oh, okay. Well, let's see, if you do this, it's almost like a bargaining thing, which I don't like that concept. That's just me personally. But if you see someone say, we agree, God, you have to do that first because it's like agree with who, agree what. So you would do God agree. You could do that, or you could say God match now, right? It matches. We have this reconciliation of an accounting, So I mean, there's a lot of in depth with that one. I didn't want to really kind of get into that. I've done some religious interpreting, and so there's a lot of different religious beliefs that are involved with that. So let's just leave it. So if you do agree or match, that's your own personal thing. An accounting of money, I would do agree or match. And then if you've had an argument, you can say argue, discuss, resolve, or argue, resolve, and then back. Right? Okay, so practice with your hearing friends and your deaf friends and see what you do. And I hope I did enough so you can see it and watch it again and again. I will see you later. Bye.